A big misconception is that you have to be a top expert. If the only people who could teach were top experts, then we'd have like 5 experts on every topic in the whole world. And the truth is that, believe it or not, a lot of people, the majority of the market, feels more comfortable learning from someone who's only a few steps ahead of them rather than a guru.
Well, hi there, and welcome to Side Hustle Hero, the show that is laser focused on inspiring you to start or to scale your side hustle income stream. I'm your host, Joan Posivy. If you've ever wondered whether you need to be some world-class expert before you teach what you know, Dan Henry has a message for you. And I think you'll find he makes a compelling case that you can start today, right where you are. In fact, the first question I ask him is, if someone listening wanted to launch their very first online course in the next 30 days, what's the first step you tell them to take? Honestly, I think his answer is a mic drop moment. You see, Dan knows a thing or two about selling online courses. From creating a $37 offer that went on to bring in 150 grand to generating millions in sales, he speaks with real authority. And as you'll hear, he has a different take on what matters most when it comes to crafting an offer. It's not so much about the topic, it's about the insomnia or bleeding neck problem that your offer must address and solve. If your side hustle involves or could involve any type of online offering, this is an episode not to be missed. And what makes Dan especially powerful as a teacher is the way he makes key strategies simple, clear, and practical. This episode is much less about the back-end mechanics of what you need to do to launch an online course, and much more about how you need to think about crafting your message and where you need to focus your attention. Now here's my conversation with the author of Digital Millionaire Secrets, How I Built an 8-Figure Business Selling My Knowledge Online, Dan Henry. Welcome, Dan.
Hey, how you doing? I'm so glad to be here.
Well, if someone listening wanted to launch their very first online course, say in the next 30 days, what's the very first step that you tell them to take?
Well, because it's 2025 and we have AI now, it's going to be very different than it used to be.
Okay.
What I would say is do a huge brain dump of all the problems you have ever solved in life, even if it's something as simple as helping someone with a piece of software, all the way up to major life problems. Just do a huge brain dump, record it on your phone, ask yourself, what are all the problems I've solved? Take the transcription of that, pop it into AI, and just say, out of everything I've just said, what is the most profitable problem I can solve? And let it give you ideas. Because what people don't realize is most people have value inside of them that they don't even realize, right? Like there was a guy, this is what got me started in this business. I read an article about a teacher who's getting paid $20,000 a year, which is basically nothing. And he went out and created an online course on how to use Microsoft Excel. And he ended up making $1 million from that course.
What?
So this is a guy. Yeah. Because think about it, right? If you don't know how to do something and someone else knows how to do it and they're willing to walk you through it, this is valuable, even if it's something as simple as Microsoft Excel. And I actually paid my way through college doing this. I went to school for audio engineering. And so one day I was in Guitar Center, which is like a guitar store, popular guitar store, and a guy saw that I was very knowledgeable and he offered me $100 to come to his home and teach him how to use his home recording software. And I made that $100 and I thought, wow, people will actually, and I wasn't like a Rick Rubin. I wasn't like a major music producer. I just knew how to use the darn software.
And you probably enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
And you get paid for it.
Yeah. And so I started doing these $50 an hour tutoring sessions on Zoom where I would just show people how to set up their software, their home recording software. And I paid my way through college. So a lot of people think, oh, I got to have this, I got to be Tony Robbins or something to sell online courses. But no, if you knew nothing, if you had no knowledge, you could literally just go pick any software that is hard to learn, go learn it, and then sell tutoring on it. And bam, you got an online course done.
Nice.
Because most people are not willing to go learn it. Like they're just not. But they'll pay you to hold their hand. People don't like to learn things on their own. They want their hand held. And they will pay a premium to have their hand held.
Well, I think you just identified another side hustle for me, because I have taken great pains over the years to learn Descript. And I was actually looking to hire someone to take over a lot of the editing using Descript. and they are few and far between. And I know a lot of the tricks.
Yeah. Can I give you a tip on that that'll make you a lot of money?
Sure.
So a lot of people, they try to teach a thing, right? Like they try to teach a software, they try to teach a method, a concept. But the biggest thing to do is identify an actual problem and teach how to solve that problem with the thing. So in business, there's generally 4 P's, right? There's the person you're helping, there's the problem that they have, there's the process in which you use to solve the problem, and then there's the payoff. The payoff is what happens in their life when the problem is solved.
Okay.
Descript, right? You could just teach how to use Descript, but the better thing to ask yourself is, okay, who could solve a problem using Descript, and what are the most profitable problems to solve? And so perhaps it's like podcasts, like people who have podcasts, perhaps they need to use Descript to create social media content, right?
Right.
So you could do a course on, hey, how to make 30 days of social media content out of one podcast episode using nothing more than Descript, right?
Right.
And this ends up being different than how to use Descript, because it becomes about solving an actual problem that's valuable to them rather than just, oh, I don't know how to use Descript, because there's no direction there. There's no North Star, right?
Right.
So this is how I tell people to think in terms of products. Don't think about the product, think about the problem that it solves.
And that was very narrow in the focus of who my customer would be in that regard as well.
Yeah, yes. The more specific you are, and when you are specific with your who, you are able to create content, advertisements, anything that you need to get you the word out there much easier.
Yes.
Because, I often do this exercise with my clients. I say, okay, write a hook for a video. Write a hook, and a hook meaning like an attention grabbing first 3 seconds of an Instagram reel or a YouTube video. Write it in your head. Okay. And it's on weight loss, right? So you're doing a weight loss video. Think of a general person that wants to lose weight and write the hook in your head. And then think of like Sarah, the 35-year-old new mom who just had a baby, and she's self-conscious that she doesn't look as good to her husband as before the baby, and she wants to lose weight to get her pre-baby body back. Now write a hook for that customer. Way easier.
Yeah.
Right?
And way more effective too.
And way more yes, absolutely, and way more effective. Finding your who is one of the most profitable things you can do beyond just the products, because once you find your who, you can sell them all kinds of products.
Right. Well, a lot of people listening have skills, but doubt that anyone would pay to learn from them. How does someone know if they're qualified to teach an online program or coaching? Does it really just come down to, I have done this before, so I can teach others to do it?
So a big misconception is that you have to be a top expert.
Okay.
If the only people who could teach were top experts, then we'd have like 5 experts on every topic in the whole world. Right? And how do top experts become top experts? Well, at some point they were kind of an expert, and then they were like a really good expert, and then they were like one of the best experts, and then they were the top experts. So it's sort of like if you said, I'm the best surgeon in the world. At one point you probably had your first surgery. Yes. So if you're not willing to do the first surgery, you're not going to do the hundreds, you're not going to do the 500s, you're not going to do the thousands. So every top surgeon that has done 1,000 surgeries at one point has been the person who's just done one. To answer your question, to say I'm not qualified because I only know a little, you're literally saying, hey, here's the road to knowing a lot. I'm not willing to take the first step on that road. Okay. And the truth is that, believe it or not, a lot of people, the majority of the market, feels more comfortable learning from someone who's only a few steps ahead of them rather than like a guru. I'll give you an example, because gurus can be like intimidating. You know, if I like, imagine you wanted to start a family sandwich shop, right? Family-owned sandwich shop, and there's somebody that lives in your community who has a very successful family-owned sandwich shop, right? And you had the choice to learn how to start your family-owned sandwich shop from that person.
Yes.
Or from, say, the current CEO of Subway. Who would you really want to learn from? Like,
Yeah.
Like, okay, now, some people might say, well, the CEO of Subway. But most people would say, no, the person who owns the family sandwich shop because they understand me.
Yes.
How can the CEO of Subway possibly understand what it's like to be little old me? So what most people need to realize is that you have a massive advantage only being a few steps ahead of someone because you are more relatable.
Relatable. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and look, as you grow, you're going to get better. You're going to get better. You're going to get better, but you have to start somewhere. So I remember one of my first products, I owned a bar and restaurant, and I had to learn Facebook ads to grow my bar and restaurant.
Okay.
That's where I learned Facebook ads. And so when I created a Facebook ads course, I mean, that was really it. I wasn't like a top guru, but I knew enough to help local businesses run ads.
Because it was, you found what was working in your local.
I found what was working specific, and I focused more on, hey, how to get customers to come into your local business, not how to run Facebook ads. It just so happened that I was running Facebook ads. Okay. And there was a product that and this is a wild story. There was a product that I sold called Pixel Hero. I sold it for $37. I made $150,000 from that offer.
Okay.
And it was a little course on how to install the Facebook Pixel. Now you can, I know it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
You can go to Facebook's documentation and read in their documentation how to install the Facebook Pixel. The problem is it's boring.
Yes.
It's this technical docs. So I made it fun. I had superhero branding, and I was like, I'm going to make you a pixel hero. I'm going to show you how to install that pixel. It's like stupid, dumb, fun stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But because I made it fun, they bought it, and I made 150 grand just teaching people how to install a Facebook pixel. You know, the truth is, you would not believe what you can create a digital product around. Most people, they don't actually want more or better information. They want simpler information so they can actually use it. The power in digital products and in really any sort of teaching is not teaching people more or better information. It's making things simple so that they can actually use them.
But in some of those examples that you've used, even the Pixel Hero, isn't a lot of that information and presented well on YouTube for free these days?
Sure.
As opposed to people paying for it?
So think about this. Would you go into a 7-Eleven and pay $10 for a bottle of water?
Probably not.
No, you wouldn't. Because when you go into a 7-Eleven, a bottle of water costs $1.
Okay.
Okay. But if you were at a sports game and it was 98 degrees outside, you're standing in line outside of a football stadium and somebody had a bottle of water for $10, you would pay it, right? Or you'd be more likely to pay it, right?
I did that at a baseball game a few weeks ago. I couldn't believe what I paid for a hot dog and a cider. It's like, oh my God, I would never pay this outside of that arena.
Exactly. So the principle here is what people will pay for, how much they will pay for it, okay, and when they will pay for it is determined by the context of the situation, right? And it really comes down to the when. What people will pay and how much will pay comes down to when they're offered it. So I'll give you an example. The reason I sold $150,000 worth of this little $37 offer was because I had an online training on how to create successful Facebook ads for your local business. It is a 1-hour training. Now, when someone registered for that training on the next page, I said, hey, congrats on registering for the training. If you would like to be to the front of your class, pay attention to the next 30 seconds. If you have yet to be able to get your Facebook ad account up and running in your first ad because you are confused with how to install the Facebook Pixel, I've got a little course called Pixel Hero. It'll take you just 20 minutes to go through, and by the end of it, you'll be ready to go. That way, when you come on the training, you'll have everything set up and ready to go, and you'll be able to get the most out of this session.
Nice. And that first hour that people were signing up for, was that free?
That was free. Yes.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So after they registered for a free training on the next page, it was $37 offer. So again, if they're on YouTube looking for how to install the Pixel, then they're only willing to pay in their time. But if they've registered for a training and they're ready to sit down and learn, and now they're at the stadium.
Got it.
Now they're offered it, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is, maybe I'll tell you this. I do not like to pay for things that I don't like. I like to pay, and many times pay more for things that I like. And so maybe on YouTube, they can't find someone that they like that's teaching them, or maybe the video is too long or whatever. But if someone that they like, that they resonate with says, hey, listen, I'm going to make this easy on you. I'm going to walk you through it step by step. Them in that moment just saying, yeah, I want to learn from this guy. And this is why I talked to you before we started the recording about brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
People buy brands. I'll give you an example. My wife likes like these brand name like Louis Vuittons and all this stuff. I don't personally get it because I know I know that those are not high quality actual bags. They're just the brand, right?
The brand, yeah.
We were in St. Pete one time visiting the US, and there's this small Italian custom leather shop that's very famous in the area. It's been around. It's owned by an Italian family, and they make incredibly high quality handbags and leather jackets. Way higher quality, way nicer than any Louis Vuitton, Chanel, any of that, right?
Yep.
And I show her this and I explain to her, and she had a Louis Vuitton bag on her, and we were feeling the difference between the two bags. And it was clear as day that Italian bag was better. So I said, I'm going to buy you one. So I buy her one. Now, this little bag costs $500.
Okay.
Some of her bags cost $5,000. Okay. But here's the thing. When someone buys a Louis Vuitton, a Chanel, whatever, they're not buying a bag to put stuff in. They're buying status. They're buying the fact that when they walk down the street with a bag that says Chanel, they are, and again, I don't get it. I'm a dude. I wear whatever t-shirts, but $20 t-shirts, I don't care. They're walking down the street and they know that every woman that looks at her with that bag, they're going, wow, look at that bag, whatever. It's status. People buy things for love or status. That's a whole rabbit hole we could go down. But the point is they spend the $5,000 on the Louis Vuitton, the Chanel, whatever, because it's the brand.
Yes.
Okay. Because of the status it brings, not the physical item. And so this translates to digital products because when you build a brand, even if it's for free on YouTube, people will pay for yours. Why? Because they want to be a part of your brand. They trust you. They like you. Just as somebody spent $5,000 on the Louis Vuitton instead of the okay, it's the same thing. So brand is important because brand creates a scenario where even if somebody else sells it for cheaper or even free, they want to buy from you.
And we've probably all made that purchase where we know that's exactly what we're doing.
No, I've done it, just not in bags.
Me too. Yeah, me neither. Yeah. But I remember, oh gosh, it was decades ago, Dan. It was a keynote speaker. I'm blanking on her name right now, but she's on stage and she's got two watches on. One's a Timex and one's a Rolex. And she had this thick Southern accent. And she says, I wear this Timex because I can see it. I wear this Rolex because you can see it.
That's amazing.
To your point.
Good. That's really good. Really good. I love that.
Well, a person could be very knowledgeable about a topic, but that doesn't mean that there's a market for that knowledge. What's your process for validating a course topic before investing a ton of money and time in it?
That's a great question. I never think about things in terms of topics. To be honest with you, I hate that word because when you use words like topics and subjects, it automatically creates a frame of I'm going to talk about stuff rather than I'm going to solve this person's problem.
Yeah.
Okay. So I always think about things in terms of problems. I don't care what the topic is, what the subject is. It's always about the problem. And I call this the 4 Ps. I mentioned it earlier, but anytime you create a product, you just write down 4 things. The person you're helping, the problem you're helping them solve, the process in which you help them solve that problem, and the payoff. The payoff is what happens when the problem is solved. Your product is them using the process. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. There's a very popular webinar software called Easy Webinar. And some people may be familiar with what webinars are and some aren't, but basically they're these online presentations you do and you sell something at the end, right?
And that, of course, that webinar is typically free.
Right. The webinar is typically free. Now, there's a popular YouTube channel called Founder, and they were interviewing the CEO of this webinar software, which obviously hosts thousands and thousands and thousands of webinars. They say to the guy, his name was Casey. They say, you've seen thousands of webinars. You have the data. You own a webinar platform. Like what makes a great webinar? Good selling product.
Yeah.
And he says, oh, that's simple. It's one that shows someone a path to success and then offers to do it for them, with them, or make it easier or faster. And so your offer, your digital product, your marketing, your brand really comes down to one simple thing: showing a person how to solve their problem with a process so they can get a payoff. And then your offer is how to either do that process for them. We call that done for you services.
Yeah.
How to do it with them. That would be called coaching. Or how to make it easier or faster. That would be courses or software. It's as simple as that. So you need to explain your process. And then once they're bought into the process, you make an offer for them to use the process easier or faster, or in some cases done with them if it's a done for you service. It really is no more complicated than that.
And then they can jump in at the level of how much they want to dive in with their hands, or how much guidance they want or need.
Right. And some people will, and my brand has evolved over the years to the point where some people want to just learn about it more in depth. Some people want it done for them. Some people want to be a part of a cohort or a mastermind group.
Okay.
And so at getclients.com, we started with like books and courses, and we evolved into now we have courses, we have software, we have done for you services, we have masterminds, seminars, and it's developed into like a real company when it started with me just on my laptop making slide videos.
And how many years has it been from making slides on your laptop to today?
13 years.
Yeah.
It's been 13 years. Not all 13 of it was super successful, but the latter was. And I remember when I sold my first like little $7 offer, right? And that was like the best $7 ever. And
oh gosh, it must have been incredible that the first time that somebody bought something from you.
yes, it was. It's funny because we've done, for my own offers, we've done about 35 million in sales total. And for our clients, like hundreds of millions, but nothing's as sweet as that first $7.
Oh yeah. It's like, oh my God, this worked.
Yeah. It's the this works moment. Because once you realize it works, you do more of it. You get motivated to do more of it. And then all of a sudden you go from, oh, I just wanted to quit my job, to, oh my gosh, I'm making a lot of money. I have a new car. I have a new house. Oh my gosh, I bought my mom a house. Oh my gosh, I bought my dad a house. Oh my gosh, I have a nice watch now. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm getting asked to speak on stage. Like, it can get out of hand quickly. Some people, they just want to have a nice side hustle. And that's what I wanted. It went from a side hustle to just going just parabolic. And I didn't really intend for it to. It just did. And it turned into like a multi-million-dollar, multi-eight-figure company when it was really just started with me with a laptop. It was crazy.
And just for the benefit of our listeners, that was not a straight trajectory from 0 to 8 figures. There's a lot of dips and valleys in there along the way.
To be honest with you, it looks, you know what? It was more like very, very little, very, very little bit. And then it shot up.
Okay.
And went straight parabolic. And I'll tell you why that is. I did not understand in the beginning the value of a good offer. And I spent too much time putting effort into marketing a product rather than making a good product that just solves a really good problem for people.
Okay.
And the first month that clicked for me, I did a webinar and I had 100 people on the webinar, and we did 48 sales at $997 each.
What?
So
that's almost a 50%, 48%.
Yeah, that's because, to be fair, I had warmed up a Facebook group. So it was a very warm audience. And then I do it a week later. And the time I did it a week later, I had 52 people buy. So I had a slightly more conversion rate. So I went from doing like side hustle type money. And then once I just nailed a good offer, that first month I had a good offer, we did $100,000. That year we did 2.9 million. And then since then, I've had 3 days where I've done $1 million in sales in a single day, 3 times.
Nice.
Now, this is not like the ups and downs. Where it really skyrocketed was during COVID, because during COVID,
Right.
everybody wanted to stay home and learn stuff. But the initial spike was before that. So my journey wasn't so much like this. It was more like a flat line.
Yeah.
Then it went straight up. And that's why I always tell people really focus on what problem you're going to solve.
And it sounds like when it went straight up, it wasn't that you were tweaking the actual product, but rather how you were presenting it.
Yes. And this is something, maybe because I've been in the industry for so long, I should have explained this. How you describe your product is just as important as the product itself, if not more. And I always use this very simple analogy, right? I say, if you're walking down the street and you see two lemonade stands, and the lemonade stand on the left says freshly squeezed lemonade, and the lemonade stand on the right says yellow water with sugar. Which one do you buy?
Right.
You buy the freshly squeezed lemonade. But why? It's
Right.
the same product. They got it from the same supplier. Why'd you buy it? You bought it because it sounded better. And the principle here is people don't buy good products. They buy products that sound good.
Yeah.
And you need to put more effort into making what you do sound good, because if it doesn't sound good, people will never know how good it is.
Mhm.
And so making a side hustle where you make 5 or 10 grand a month, this is not hard. But you want to start making millions, you really got to dive into this and understand how to communicate your value. But as far as like a side hustle, I'm going to make 5, 10 grand. In the digital product game, that's baby numbers. That's nothing. You can do a lot wrong and make 5 or 10 grand a month.
All right. So let's drill down a little bit on that then. Walk us through the steps. How would I get to the point where I've got an online course that's not only uploaded, but I'm actually getting a monthly 4-figure income, like that 5 grand a month?
Okay. So what I always say is, look, you got to find, because there's so many different ways to get people to know about your product, right? There's there's getting interviewed on podcasts. There's running Facebook ads. There's starting a YouTube channel. There's doing Instagram content. And a lot of these gurus, they sit there and they say, the secret is this Instagram. The secret is this. The secret is that. The truth is, the secret is what comes naturally to you the most, right? For instance, I like to speak. I love speaking. So I love being on podcasts. I love doing webinars. I love speaking on stage. I just spoke in Bali. I'm a natural talker, right? And some other people are natural writers. So I would not get the same advice to somebody who, for instance, there are people who are crushing it on YouTube, but they can't grow on Instagram. There are people that are crushing on Instagram, but they suck on YouTube. What I would do first is I would look at, where is my content? Where do I feel the most comfortable in my content? Okay. But if I were to say to somebody, how can you guarantee that you're going to make money? Here's what I would do. And this is a big mindset thing. I was speaking to my wife about this earlier. If I took a sack of money, $20,000, okay, and I put it in a sack and I put it 20 miles away, and I said, okay, there's a sack of $20,000 20 miles away. You can walk 20 miles and grab that sack of cash, or you can walk a mile in the opposite direction and get a car. And you can take that car and drive and get the cash. Which one would you choose? Would you get the car or would you walk the 20 miles? You'd get the car, right?
Yeah.
But when you go to get the car, aren't you walking in the opposite direction of what you want, of the cash?
Yes.
So this is what happens, right? When people get started in selling digital products, they get discouraged because they want a sale now, okay? They don't want to wait to build a brand. They want a sale now. So what I tell people is, if you really wanted to, you could take a few hours a day or even an hour a day.
Okay.
And you could reach out to a bunch of podcasts, like how I got on your podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even if only 10% of those podcasts got back to you and you said, I'm going to come on your podcast, right? If you compare that to cold, because a lot of people will say, just DM people and sell them your stuff. If you do that, you cold call, cold message.
Yeah.
Like the value inside of your hour is minimal. But if you spend that hour and you land on a podcast, now when you're on that podcast, hundreds, maybe thousands of people hear your message. You're just changing the equation. You're putting in the same amount of effort, but you're changing the equation. So if you were to get on, say, 15 podcasts, like let's say you went hard, you got on 15 podcasts this month, Yeah, you got to wait 2 or 3 weeks for those podcasts to come out. And then people got to listen to the podcasts. Okay. But once you're on that podcast, if you say, hey, here's this free report that I'm going to give you, or here's this whatever, they get it. They get on your email list. You offer them a digital product. Boom, you make sales. And those podcasts will remain there. The same aspect applies to YouTube videos. You create YouTube videos. When they take off, they're there forever.
Yes.
Ads are good, but you have to, I'm going to be honest, you got to be really good at ads. Ads is because you're gambling, you're playing with money. If you have strong copywriting skills and you have those skills, and yes, ads is the fastest way to grow, but most people don't have those skills. And so I always say, look, get on podcasts, make YouTube videos. Trust me, these are assets that will build you a brand, build traffic towards your digital products, and just ultimately, and this is why I recommend podcasts, you're asking me questions, right?
Yes.
If I don't know much and I go and I create a YouTube video, I'm guessing what people want to hear. So let's say you ask me a question, and this question is a really good question, a question I haven't thought of. I answer it, and you say to me, wow, that's a really good answer. I can go make a YouTube video right now saying that same thing that and the title can be similar to the question. So this is why I really do encourage people to get interviewed on podcasts, because not only do you get on the podcast and that gets you traffic, but it gives you like a million ideas of what to say on YouTube or on your content. And you don't even have to think. So believe me, it's not as hard as people think it sounds.
And like you said, that content is evergreen too. I've had people refer to episodes that we did 2-3 years ago. And so that conversation still has good legs. And I love that idea about going on podcasts, obviously. But looping back to your comment, you need to be doing what you're good at. So if somebody is not good in front of the microphone or in front of the camera, is your suggestion they brush up on those skills? Maybe you've got a course for that, but
okay.
Or
so
find
let me just make sure
in alignment.
I'm a bit of a direct kind of tough love type of guy. Okay.
Perfect.
And so when someone says to me, I'm a little uncomfortable on camera. Okay. First of all, I can show you videos of when I first started. It is so cringe.
I've got those too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to watch, right?
Yep.
Now, here's the thing. Unless you have a massive head injury, any human being should be able to grasp the concept that if they do 10 videos, the next 10 videos are going to be better than the previous 10. And the next 10 are going to be, okay. So it's like, people know that, right? People know that if they do it enough times, they're going to be more comfortable. Like, they know that.
Yeah.
The problem is getting over the discomfort and the awkward feeling of the first 10 videos. Okay. So I always use this little analogy, right? I say, okay, think of someone in your life, because a lot of people have experienced this, who you really care about, you really love, but you haven't talked to them in a long time because maybe you had some sort of spat, some sort of disagreement. You haven't talked about it. Okay. Now, imagine you got up every day, you looked in the mirror when you got dressed, and you pretend that you were getting dressed for that person's funeral. If you did that little exercise every day, do you think you would probably call them pretty soon? Okay.
Yeah.
You would.
Yeah.
Now, why? Because you're thinking about what you would lose. You're thinking about how uncomfortable it would be to have that person leave this planet and you not be able to make amends. Now, once you think about that constantly, you realize that's far more uncomfortable than having a phone call, right? But most people don't do that. Why? Human beings naturally don't like to do things that feel bad, okay? So what I try to tell people is, listen, this may feel bad, but it's what's going to get you to the other side of greatness. At the end of the day, what is more uncomfortable? Staying at your job, working for your boss, and making them rich, or the uncomfortable, I'm going to feel awkward the first 10 or so times on camera. I would say waking up 20 years from now still being broke is far more uncomfortable. And look, the average, according to Wikipedia, the average raise per year is only 3%. So if you put 40 hours per week, so let's say you make $1,000 a week, right? You put 40 hours in this week. If you put 40 hours into your job next week, what are you going to make? You're going to make $1,000. What about the next week? $1,000. What about 6 months from now? Probably still $1,000. What about a year from now? $1,030.
Right. Yeah.
Not you're going to keep putting in 40. You're going to keep betting big to win small. But if you put just 10 hours into your business
Yeah.
this week, you might make nothing. Next week, you might make nothing. Next week, you might make nothing. Next week, you might make a few bucks. The next week, you might make okay. But a year from then, what could you make?
Yeah.
Heck, you could make 10 grand. Heck, you could make $1 million. The what you could make is almost unlimited. If you're going to bet that many hours, do not bet big to win small, at least bet small to win big.
Yeah.
And when you bet on yourself and you realize the math, nothing makes more sense than to just get over it and work on your business and do the uncomfortable thing.
Yes.
Because the result of not doing it is far more uncomfortable.
I remember decades ago, the very first time I recorded a live seminar that I was doing. I never did watch the whole thing, Dan. It was so bad. When you talked about cringe, it's from what I've seen already, I've got enough to work on. This is okay. But every time you do it, you get better.
Oh, I make it a point to never watch my old content. I was like, you know what? I'm better now. It's fine. What am I going to learn from it?
I was asking about those steps from going to 0 to say 5 grand or 10 grand. So you talked about how to identify what we should cover. How do you test it? How do you create it? At what point do you create it?
Here's a simple test you can do, and it can actually make you some money, right? So let's say you have a small audience. Maybe it could be just people on your Facebook or your Instagram or whatever, right?
Okay.
Wherever you have people that follow you. You could simply say, and I call this the curious expert script, okay? All you have to do is say, some of you may or may not be aware, but over the past few years, I've learned how to do XYZ, or I've learned how to solve XYZ problem. It could be anything from I lost 50 pounds to I saved my marriage to I learned how to use QuickBooks really well and now I manage my money great. It could be anything, right?
Yep.
I thought about making a tutorial video on how to do this. If anybody's interested, drop a comment, me, and I'll let you know when it's ready. Now, if you do this and you get like no response, probably it's either not a good idea or you have no friends on social media. Okay. In which case, go get some friends, go get involved in some groups, build a little bit of a network, and then do it again. Or you could even just talk to your friends about it and see what they say. Okay. But here's the principle. If a certain amount of people are interested in something for free, a percentage of those people will be interested to pay for that information in greater detail. And you only need 1%. I call it the 1% rule. You only need 1% of the people who consume your content to become a millionaire. When I hit my first million in digital products, out of everybody that watched my stuff, that joined my email list, it's only like 1% that bought my stuff. Okay. It's like 1%. Okay. And the math is weighed heavily in your favor. And so if you can get people to say, hey, raise their hand, I'm interested to learn more about that, even for free, it gives you a very strong indication that a percentage of those people will pay for it.
Right.
And people pay in different ways. Some people will pay in time, some people will pay with their information, and some people will pay with money. So, for instance, if somebody says, hey, I'll take some time to watch this YouTube video, they've paid in time. If you say, hey, I've got this guide, give me your email and I'll send it to you, which is what we call an opt-in page or a landing page. Now they've paid with their information. They've given up a little bit of their privacy because they valued what you were offering so much that they decided to give your email. And then, hey, do you want more help with this? Buy this thing. Now they're paying with their money. So people pay in different ways. And what you will notice is that as long as you can start getting people to pay in some way, if you do things right, some of them will pay in money. And that's where obviously things turn around for you financially. The biggest thing to remember is and I call this the 4 levels of offers. This is a beginner, but it's definitely something that I've taught to advanced people as well. The 4 levels of offers goes like this. There are 4 levels of offers. And at the very bottom is level 1. It's called must be nice offers. So these are offers that solve a problem that must be nice to solve, but ultimately it's not a big deal. Level 2 is offers, what I call annoyance offers. These are offers that solve a problem that are annoying, the problem that your customer has is annoying,
Okay.
but ultimately they can live with it. Level 3 is what I call insomnia offers. These are offers that solve a problem that genuinely keep people awake at night. A lot of people become millionaires selling insomnia offers because the problem really keeps people awake at night. At level 4 is what I call bleeding neck offers. Now, bleeding neck offers are where someone literally feels like it's an emergency and they're stumbling into the emergency room, holding their jugular, bleeding out, hoping they get to a doctor. These offers, if you have one of these offers and you're not a millionaire, you got problems. You probably need a therapist or an exorcist.
So what would be an example of that?
Great question. So I had a client come to me. He was an online tutor and he was charging $40 an hour to help kids get better grades in high school.
Okay.
And he was burnt out. He was not making much money. And he's like, how can I turn this around? I said, okay, pitch me. So he pitches me, he says, I help high school kids get better grades, even if their grades are really bad. And I said, okay, you just pitched me that you were that you were a tutor, and the going rate for tutors is $40 an hour. So this is what I would call like an annoyance offer. It's annoying to not have good grades, but that's all it is, annoying. Most people, they just don't have good grades. I said, tell me why you do this. And so he tells me a story about how he was in his final year of high school and his parents really wanted him to get into a top university. He wanted to get into a top university, but his grades were bad. And he knew that unless he got tutoring like every day, all day, the math wouldn't work out. There's no way he would get his grades up by then. So he started learning. He took a different approach. He went and started taking courses on how to learn faster and how to assimilate information quicker. And then once he figured that out, he created his own little self-study routine based on that. And he was actually able to get his grades up by the end of his senior year, and he got into a top 5 university.
Whoa.
And I was like, and I said to him, I said, so why are you selling online tutoring? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, bro, you have a level 4 bleeding neck offer here. It's simple. Your offer is this. Hey, are you a parent who has a kid in their final year of high school, their grades are bad, and it looks like they're not going to get into a top school? We will help turn their grades around, even though it seems like it might be too late, and help you get them into a top school. So the offer is not online tutoring. The offer is to get your kid into a top university, even if their grades are bad in their final year of high school. And I told him, pitch it that way. The very next day, he comes back to me. And on top of this, I said, don't sell it for $40. Yeah. Sell for $3,000. $3,000 for your base package. $3,000.
How the hell did you talk to him from going from 40 to 3,000? Or as a package?
I said, if you had a kid and you're in your whole life, you wanted that kid to get into a top school, and somebody wave a magic wand and say, hey, for $3,000, I'll wave this magic wand and I'll get him into a top 5 school. Would they pay it? And he's, of course they would pay it. I'm like, okay, so then solving the problem is clearly worth $3,000 to them. Okay. Yeah. So the next day he comes back to me, made his first $3,000 sale like that. Same offer. Didn't change the offer. Didn't change the business. Just change how he explained it.
That's a powerful example.
Yeah. So most people, when they're not charging enough, they're not getting paid their worth, or they don't think people don't get their business idea. They're simply selling it as a level 1 or 2 offer when really they need a level 3 or 4 offer. And the way you do that is not by changing the offer most of the time. It's just by changing how you explain it.
In the remaining time, I did want to ask you about some of the back end. What are some platforms that you recommend? How to set up funnels? That's just a huge area of study.
Yeah. So here's the thing. And this is what I've realized in my career. That stuff, for the most part, doesn't matter unless you're already like cooking in business. So currently, I use a platform called Go High Level. But I'm going to be real with you. All those platforms, they suck. They're I'm going to be real with you. Almost every online marketing platform sucks. It's run by marketers. It's created by marketers. They have squirrel brains, and they're always adding bells and whistles before they fix stuff. So once, I pay like $1,000 a month for that, but it's okay. And I have a team, and they fix stuff all the time. And it's kind of honestly a mess. All the softwares are a mess. And so if you're going to get into this industry thinking that you're going to use one of these like advanced softwares, funnels and all this, and you're not going to have problems, you're not going to have a mess, you're going to have a mess. But because I make millions of dollars doing this, I'm fine. Okay, great. Like it's part of the gig. When you're starting out, one thing I recommend to people is Google Docs are your friend. Like literally, like you can make a sales page and just put it in a Google Doc just to validate your offer. I swear to you, the right offer, the right pitch, these are what's going to make you money, not what email, whatever you use, yada, blah, blah, blah. Active campaign, go high level. It doesn't matter. As long as you can send out good emails to begin with, you're fine. If you grow an Instagram, you can literally just use ManyChat, get people to comment a word, send them a Google Doc with a freebie, send them another Google Doc that explains your offer, go to a simple Stripe sales page, even though I don't like Stripe. Once you start charging like higher end products and services, you need a real merchant account. That stuff, when you get into the weeds of it, it gets messy. But by the time you get to the point where it's messy, you should be making enough money where you can just hire someone to deal with the mess. What I don't recommend is sitting there and before you even have a valid offer that people are willing to pay for it, you're already knee deep in tech and you're not even making any money yet. That's my one thing I caution against.
Wise advice. Is there for people that have that course that are multiple videos and downloads, they do need a platform like, I don't know, Teachable or some of the other ones. Is there a platform that you recommend?
I like School. My good friend Sam Ovens made the platform School. And the reason why I like it is because it's simple. It's SKOOL. It has the community. It has video. And I probably have an affiliate link somewhere, but I don't care. They have an area for a calendar for events. They have an area for videos. They have an area for community. And I like it because it's simple. Like I used to keep all my stuff on these custom dashboards. And nowadays I just literally add them to the School group when they buy because it's so simple. And I like to keep my life simple. So if you're looking for simple, not a lot of tech, etc., then School is the easiest.
Okay. Thank you for that. Where do you see the online education industry heading in the next few years? I'm thinking specifically about the incredible growth in AI.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I believe people who just sell digital products without brand are going to they're going to have a rough time because AI is getting to the point where it can solve a lot of problems that these courses, you're not going to need these courses anymore.
Okay.
And so, for instance, let's say you want to sell a highly technical course on like how to create Facebook ads. You can go on a ChatGPT right now and just be like, I want to create a Facebook ad, walk me through it, and it'll do it. So for me, I'm seeing that teaching things that are just like nut and bolt, basic, like stuff like that, people will still buy it, absolutely. But if you're only selling it based on, let me show you how to do XYZ, you're probably going to have a hard time.
Okay.
If you sell that same thing, but from a perspective of a brand, people will literally, even if they could go to ChatGPT, they would rather learn from you because it's you. And so that's the thing is when you build a brand, what is a brand? Like most people don't even know what a brand is, right? They think a brand is your colors. A brand is what you're known for. It's what people say about you.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
And how do you build a brand? You do one very simple thing. You get people to be fascinated with you. That's it. Think of every big brand. People are simply fascinated with that person. That's all it is. Kylie Jenner built a big brand, a big audience, and then she became a billionaire selling makeup. So many people sell makeup. This is makeup. Yeah. But why? Because people are fascinated with her. I'm not fascinated with her, but I also don't buy makeup. Okay. But I hear my wife talk about her a lot. So to her, she must be fascinating. She's bought some of her stuff. Okay. So all you have to do to build a brand is engineer yourself and how you talk about things to simply be fascinating. What most people don't realize is almost everybody on this planet is fascinating to people other than themselves.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when you learn how to do that, people will buy from you. Simon Sinek said, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And so people don't just buy things to have things, they buy it to be a part of the experience. They want to be a part of the experience. People don't buy a Rolls Royce just because they like the car. They buy a Rolls Royce because they want to say they own a Rolls Royce. They want to be a part of the experience. And so the way to protect yourself from AI coming in and mindlessly stealing customers because maybe they could just learn it from AI is you don't just sell the solutions to the problems. You don't just sell the digital products, you sell the experience. And you do that by building a brand. And when people are fascinated with you and they're a part of your brand, they buy from you, not because they need to, because they want to.
Yeah. Yeah. Our purchase decisions are not only monetary, it's from the heart.
Exactly.
It's emotional.
And that's something AI is not going to be able to mimic.
Yeah, that's true. Is there anything else that someone should know about breaking into and thriving in this online education space that we haven't talked about?
For me, I believe most people don't do it because they don't think they're capable. They really, this is a big thing I've heard, they don't think they're capable. Even though they see other people doing it, they see other people winning, they see other people making money, they don't think they're capable. And I would say,
and they see those people doing it and they even say to themselves, I could do a better job at that.
yeah, they say that. And then they still don't do it because there's some feeling that they get inside of themselves where they say, I can't do it. It's a classic, I can't do it. So here's what I always tell people about I can't do it. And this is a rather harsh example, but it gets the point across.
Okay, at this point in our conversation, that doesn't surprise me, Dan. Go for it.
Think of something that you think you are not capable of. Perhaps it's creating your first profitable digital product. Now, imagine the president of the United States calls you on the phone and says, there's an asteroid headed towards Earth. And if in the next 90 days you can successfully do this thing, the asteroid will miss Earth. But if you can't, it hits Earth and everyone you've ever known, the entire human race dies and we're extinct. Could you do it then? And almost every time people are like, well, yeah, of course I could do it then. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. So what you're telling me is that you are capable.
You're capable.
Because you either are capable or you're not. You are capable. The only thing that changed here is not your capability, it was your motivation. You said you could do it because you had to do it because the fate of the human race was at stake. But you don't have to make more money. The question is, do you want to? So you are capable. Now it just comes down to choice. You either want it or you don't. So that's what I would say to people. Look, you can do it. Like you really can. I'm not asking you to build a rocket ship here. The question is, do you care enough about your financial future to actually give it a shot?
Yeah. So get her done. What's the best way for our listeners to connect with you, Dan?
At Dan Henry on Instagram and YouTube. I'm always putting out the best content I possibly can on both Instagram and YouTube. That's just my name, at Dan Henry.
Perfect. And make sure I'll drop the links into the show notes.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
What's your best tip to inspire others to start and grow their side hustle dream?
My best tip?
Yeah.
I would say find something you're angry about. Find a problem in the world that really ticks you off, that you don't think is solved good enough. You don't think enough people know about a solution, or you think the solutions out there plain suck. And when you can find something that you're that angry about, that is where you will find the passion that when you go to start that thing and you get discouraged one day or somebody doesn't buy right away, that passion will carry you through those bumps in the road, because without that passion, you'll give up.
Yeah.
Find something you are so angry about that you just have to solve it better. And that's going to be your $1 million idea.
And that'll drive you forward. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you Thank you so much, Dan, for sharing your insights into the online education space, especially your knowledge about what we need to be paying attention to when we craft an offer, the importance of building our brand, and of course, for being today's side hustle hero.
Thank you so much. It was a great time.
When I asked Dan what someone should do first if they wanted to launch a course in the next 30 days, I thought his answer was so precise and helpful. Do a huge brain dump. And he didn't mean sit down and try and write out the perfect list. He said, just record it on a phone. All the problems that you've ever solved, from the little ones like helping someone figure out a piece of software to the big life challenges. Just talk it out. Then take that transcription, pop it into AI like ChatGPT and ask, out of everything I've just said, what's the most profitable problem I can solve? Why is this such a powerful exercise? Because most of us underestimate the value of what we know. We assume, well, that's too basic, or everyone probably knows how to do that. But as Dan pointed out, even something as simple as teaching Excel or walking someone through a specific software can be worth thousands. Because the reality is most people don't want to figure things out on their own. It's time consuming. They'll gladly pay to have their hand held, especially as they connect with you personally, your brand, and you make the offer at the right time. Dan shared his strategy for that. And yet, even when we see the value, fear has a way of stepping in. Fear of not being qualified, or of nobody buying. Fear of putting ourselves out there. But here's the truth. Every expert you've ever admired started by being the novice, the beginner, the first-timer. Take it from me, a recovering perfectionist. If you wait until you feel ready, until everything's perfect and known, you'll never begin. Instead, take Dan's advice to heart this week. Do that brain dump. Record it on your phone, feed it through ChatGPT, and see what comes back. You may be surprised at how much knowledge you already have that could change someone else's life and change yours in the process. Because in the end, the bigger risk isn't trying and failing, it's letting fear hold you back and waking up years from now still wondering, what if I had started? Yeah, how great could it have been? Well, that's a wrap for today. If our chats are sparking your entrepreneurial spirit and providing valuable insights, consider showing your support by visiting sidehustlehero.com/support. That's where you can shoot me a virtual coffee. It's a real thing and a fun way to give the show a caffeinated thumbs up. Thank you so much. In the episode description, you'll find links to Dan's social and website, as well as the full show notes, which live at our website, sidehustlehero.com. While there, be sure to grab a copy of my 28-page guide called Smart Start, From Idea to It's Live in 7 Steps. It's free for now, but not forever, at sidehustlehero.com. If you're enjoying what you're seeing in this podcast, it would be so appreciated if you would take a moment and add your comment, share the episode, and please subscribe. It'll let others know that there's valuable content here to help them start and grow their side hustle. Thanks for watching, and hustle on.